Hey, everybody, welcome to the Poduty Live Podcast Theater. I'm Jeff, your host. I've got a special in-theater guest today. I've got DJ Sky. While I'm wandering through the theater trying to find my seat, I don't know where to go. We've got 6 stories about live news podcasting recorded live coming at you after.
What time is it? What time is it? It's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Just requested DJ Sky wants the full version of the podcast theme song to play at his next gig because you made a big announcement and had almost went locally viral.
Yes.
I think everybody in this town saw your announcement. And welcome to the show again, DJ Sky, 2-time on the show here. Glad to have you back. And tell us a little bit about what did you announce last week?
Hey, thank you for having me. I actually announced it's a 4-bar tour, 3-city, between Tarentum, Lower Burrell, and Freeport. I'm going to be at the Praha Hotel, Barley, Lock 5 Tavern, and Burrell and Bloom. And all of those dates are on the screen, so I set them out of order. But as long as you show up on those right days, you're going to have a good time. At least I hope you're going to have a good time. I know I will.
And one thing that shocked me, the ticket price.
It's free, and you can win some stuff. So right now, all of these places are putting up a gift card for you to come back. Marmac is actually sponsoring Uber rides, so I'm going to raffle off an Uber ride each night. It's a $50 gift card, so if you're traveling locally, that's a whole bunch of rides.
Yeah. What better way to play it safe? You're going to go out, have a good time. Why not take it safe? Take the safe way home.
Get an
Call
Uber.
a cab. Yeah.
Get an Uber. Or if you're going down to the draft, that is from here to Harmerville, because it's going to be ridiculous to do anything during the draft.
Tell us a little bit about how can people find out more if they want to connect with you personally, learn about all your gigs. I mean, you're doing trivia, you're touring Tarentum on a weekly basis, so you're always around here working. Where can people find you on the regular?
Right now, Facebook, just Skylor Hayden. It's Skylor with an O. And same with my Instagram. I just try to keep everything simple so that way you can find me. Because if you like me, you'll remember me. If you don't like me, you'll definitely remember me.
Well, a funny story about people liking you is, you did a local high school prom about 2 years ago of a school that my daughter goes to. And the next year they hired a different DJ. And she said, man, I really miss DJ Sky. So if you're out there, you're thinking about events, you want to get somebody that the kids like, DJ Sky was well missed at my daughter's high school.
I miss being there. There was a weird scheduling thing. I don't know what I did, but I was probably on vacation or something.
Yeah. It's hard to believe because every time I turn on Facebook, there's a new thing that you're doing. You're always working. You're always out there and doing 2 or 3 trivia nights a week sometimes. Tell us a little bit about how do you structure trivia? How do you play the games when you're in pub?
So I just like to keep it interesting. It's not rocket science. We're just supposed to be out and having a good time. So I don't like themes because if I do a theme and you're not interested, you're not coming out. So I try to just keep it random, keep people on their toes, and I mix it between trivia and name that tune. So that's a little hard because I have some young kids, but I got to bridge the gap and make sure that they can have a good time too.
Yeah.
But that's what we have going on. It's pretty cool. I'm having fun. So.
And for those of you watching at home, you're not going to believe that there's 90 years of experience up on this stage. I'm turning 50 this year, and believe it or not, DJ Sky is 40. And 41. So
41.
91 years of experience up on the stage, which is crazy. They are putting something in the drinking water in Tarentum, but every time I hear you're 40, it just blows my mind.
It's definitely not fluoride because they just took that out of Breckenridge.
No.
I miss it.
Yeah.
And so do my teeth.
Watch our health, we'll be walking with walkers by the end of the year.
I hope not.
All right, well, are you ready to get into our stories? We've got story number 1 coming your way. This one was a music podcast. So a lot of the times with my guests, I try to pair the stories with their expertise, with their knowledge, with what they do on a daily basis. And this is the Classroom to Career, podcasting the music industry playbook. And this was a really interesting concept done at a university for kids who are studying event production, music production, the music industry. And this is Emily White recorded season 5 of her podcast live at Northeastern University, turning into an interactive in-person learning experience. With a small audience, industry guests, and student involvement in production, the show blends education, networking, and live podcasting into real-world training ground for building a sustainable music career. And this was a smaller event, 15 people. But the industry experts, the knowledge that you got being in the smaller, intimate environment, you don't get that in the classroom. You're not getting that real-world experience. You're getting textbook experience and the knowledge of the professor. But here's somebody who lived through it, who built an empire, not an empire, but built something in the music industry, and sharing those with students in real time. They're able to ask questions and really dive in deeper.
And all of these people who show up to these events, they're not getting lost in the shuffle, and their voices are heard because since it is one-on-one, there's time. And whenever you got to see more than 15, it gets hard. And you might not either think your question is valid or somebody else is going to ask it. But the answer that they get won't be the answer that you need.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine, I took a lot of marketing classes, but having somebody like Mark Cuban or Bill Gates, even a local business entrepreneur to sit in a room with you, tell their story, and then you can ask them questions. I never got an experience like that in college, and through podcasting, I think these types of things are now possible.
So I have been to a couple of DJ conventions. One was really huge, DJX. It was amazing because you still got the top tier speakers of the hour, the top tier people in your business, but from me to them, I'm 80 people away. But then when I went to the Pittsburgh DJ Summit, it was cooler. It was a little bit smaller scale. From me to them, I'm like 35 people away. So, and it was just cool because they took time out and was able to give you the time that you wanted, not more than just you needed. So it makes a big difference whenever you can actually get up close and personal.
Yeah, that intimate experience, one-on-one knowledge. If you're one of 15 questions that are going to be asked and there's only 15 people in the audience, you have a good chance of getting that itch scratched of, like, what's that thing burning in the back of your head? Like, how do I do this? How did you do that? Yeah. I see that you've accomplished these types of things. How can I pull some of that knowledge and build off for my own career?
And then even if they do ask a question that you have, you still have a few other questions in the chamber. So that way, whenever they do get to you, you still have your opportunity to speak and get some knowledge.
Yeah, and sometimes there's even afterwards. After the show cuts, they got what they needed for the recording. You can hang out. You can thank them for coming out. You make those connections that you can't get through an email or just through sending in a fan mail of, hey, I listened to your podcast. It was really great. Now they know you, and they're able to connect with you on a personal level.
Yeah.
Well, keep it going. Story number 2 is from podcasts to festivals, turning content into a cultural event. This is the 2026 Black Effect Podcast Festival in Atlanta. Is more than live shows. It's a full-scale experience combining live podcast tapings, panel discussions, networking, a marketplace, and an audience participation. This is podcasting as an event ecosystem where content, community, and commerce all come together. And this is kind of the opposite of our previous story. This is big scale. This is podcast up on the stage, entertaining a crowd, and build around this network, this idea of podcast as performances. Something I really, as you from talking to me for the last couple of years, I'm very passionate about performing podcasts live for audience, and this is scaling it way beyond what I'm doing.
it's not that it's scaling it way beyond what you're doing. People don't know that they can come down to the theater. They can come, sit down, watch, hang out, interact. So that's another thing. When people realize that they only got to come 5-10 minutes, see something that they're listening to or something that they're interested in, and it's in their backyard. And this, when I was listening to the story and reading it, I had a few other different ideas that I think could work for you. Maybe going down to the Tarentum Amphitheater and doing an outside live podcast, kind of sort of like this, where you could interview people on the street or just do a show. And I think that'd be really cool right along the river. But
I'll have to show you one of the original concepts for this space was I called it Theater Anywhere, and I built something that fit in the back seat of my sedan. So I had to travel with it, and you're familiar, DJ loading in and out equipment.
Yeah.
And it was 2 speakers, it was a mixer, some microphones, and a podium, all slid in perfectly into the back seat of my car. And my original concept was to go set up along a river walkway or the clamshell theaters and parks and just start ambush podcasting, kind of like Billy in the Streets, but it was Jeff in the Streets doing this podcast anywhere I wanted to be, anywhere I went, that's where the podcast would be. And I love that idea. So maybe this summer I'll ambush the Mr. Wolf Amphitheater, James P. Wolf Amphitheater.
I thought it was Carl Magneta.
Is it Magneta?
Yeah, I thought it was the Carl Magneta Amphitheater.
Maybe Wolf was the skate park guy.
Hey, we can ambush there too, because they still have the rinks up.
Well, I remember one of them didn't like skateboarding, and it was ironic that they named the skate park after them.
Oh, yeah, that's before my time.
That's an early 2002 Tarentum story. But again, bringing people together, people who like podcasts, people who like, in some case, music, they like entertainment. Yeah. They're going to come together, and people are realizing that you can get a great level of entertainment for $10, $20 a ticket. Instead of going to an arena, a theater, you're paying $80 for balcony seats. You're paying $300 to be on the floor. With a live podcast, you're going to meet people who are like you. They like the same things that you're interested in. Usually the topic of the podcast is what people are conjugating around. They're meeting together. They're thinking about the same things. They're passionate about the same topics. And you're meeting people for $10, $20. You could have the worst night of your life, and it doesn't break the bank to hang out with podcasters.
Or even if it's outside, you can still walk by and still be entertained, because you just never know what you're going to hear at that moment. As long as you put yourself out there, you can get something.
They are doing one cool thing. It's called Pitch Your Podcast, where they're having a stage where you can go up. If you have an idea, you can pitch it, kind of like a Shark Tank or like America's Got Talent. You pitch your idea, your concept, and judges give you feedback and how to put it together. So if you're kind of on the fringe, I like these topics, I love what these people are putting together, how can I build my own podcast? Well, here's an idea. You take the stage in front of them, and you get to pitch your idea and see if it has some value.
Now, that would be cool if they turned that into a reality show.
Yeah.
And a legit contest where people could vote on it, and the winner gets their own podcast.
Win a podcast at the Poduty Podcast Theater.
I mean, we can get some local sponsors to at least give them a speaker or two.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll keep going to our next story, another story about live podcasting. And this one is one, here's a ticket price that it's after my own heart. This is where I think the value is for small independent podcasters. $13.50. I'm all in. Turning a local podcast into a live platform, the Connect the Dots podcast in St. Louis hosted its first live event after years of building its brand, offering tickets for just $13.50 to bring the community together. The show combined live podcast tapings, performances, and networking, transforming a digital platform into a physical stage for local artists and setting the foundation for future events. And a lot of times we talk about taking your show live, and you don't have to do it as soon as you start your podcast. They're building up a podcast over 6 years. By now, they're ready. They're confident on the microphone. They want to perform in front of people. 6 years later, they're building live shows now and monetizing that for $13.50 a ticket.
Yeah. And especially if you do multiple shows, where if you can get a group discount or pay for several shows at once, I mean, that's just hand over fist right there.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. They're doing it in St. Louis, but we're also doing it here in Trenton. I say we're because I'm on the show. I have no.
The stage is always yours here.
Oh, yeah, you say that now. But and that's the thing. The more you know, the more you can do. And people just need to know that you can come here and just hang out and just be interactive.
Yeah, most podcasts cost between $20 and $100 a month to run. If they sold 10 tickets at $13, I guarantee you they covered their expenses for a month. So you think about live events. How can I bring in some revenue to make this hobby, at least pay the bills? I can at least cover my expenses. I can have a good time doing it. And I'm not worried about the size of my audience, whereas most podcasters chase this idea of, if I build a big enough audience, I can read ads for Purple Mattress or MeUndies or Sherry's Berries. They can do all these things if they get the audience. But you don't have to have a live audience. If you think getting 1,000 downloads is difficult, how difficult is it to get 10 people to show up, right? So you can cover your expenses without having large audiences. And I'm looking now, this is 2 live podcast tapings for $13.50. So we're talking, almost $675 a pop per show. You get 2 shows for $13.50, and for them, that's 2 weeks of content that covers half of their month. Those sales probably covered their expenses for a month or 2 months. They're ahead of the game now. They're in the green. They're not operating at a loss or as a hobby anymore. They're making this a business.
And that's the nice thing about just being able to create that movement to where you can be there in person and you can interact. And that just changes the whole grand scheme of things. And I think that's really cool.
Let's go to the first impressions, winning or losing at check-in. I love this story. We're talking about DJ Sky has an event coming up at 4 different locations. And this whole article here is about how do we control that process. The check-in is part of the experience. So if you get to a venue and you're waiting to get scanned in, if there's tickets, if you're waiting to get checked in because they can't find your email, or in DJ Sky's case, the process is free. There's no tickets, but you're going to be doing these events. You may want to capture some of that information. So in your mind, how do I get this information so that I'm not holding up the experience, but I want to be able to talk to these people, market to them after the show, and bring them back to future episodes. So that whole check-in process is something great to think about, especially for your upcoming events. And the success of your event is not decided when the music starts. It's decided when people walk through the door. Long lines, confusion, and slow check-ins can ruin the energy before your show even begins. The strategy here is simple. Plan the experience from the first touch point. Registration, staffing, and flow all matter. Because if people walk around frustrated, it is a lot harder to win them back once the show starts. And I think I almost said all those things verbatim before I read the paragraph.
Yeah.
But this is part of the experience. And this is something when you're hosting a live podcast, a live event, you got to think about, how do I get people through the door so their experience can begin in the most positive way possible?
Yeah, because I was thinking about this after I read it. I'm like, wow. Because with our access passes, whenever you get it stamped, that puts you in the running for the raffle. And I'm like, how am I going to collect all the information? Raffle tickets are cool, but it's kind of outdated. But this is the route that I have to take. And then I can't lose them. So it's like little things that make, I hate to say my guests, but the people who are coming out, make them feel valued. And it goes a lot. So this one is really, I'm going to pay attention to this one. So
yeah, we were talking before the show started today, and I think the best way for you to do this is, you'll have the raffle tickets, that's fine, but part of the entry is they scan a QR code and they sign up for your newsletter. Then you'll have the people who signed up pick a number 1 to 20, or have somebody randomly pick a number, and that person's the one who wins the raffle. So you can still do the raffle, but now you're capturing that information easily and flawlessly because they just scan it, they're entering, and you're good to go. So that's something we could talk about. I'm happy to help set that up and see what you can do with it. It'd be fun to see you walk away with 100, 150 names at the end of the 4 days. Yeah. That's a pretty good starting point for marketing for future events.
Yes, that's a great base, and that also would streamline that process because they're not waiting for either me or the bartender to scan them, and if it's busy, the bartender can't punch their card. So it's a great way to do both. So we have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's figure that out. Keep the event moving.
When I said we, I didn't mean you. But
I'll be there. That's true. Like, I'm sure you'd have me.
yeah. Anything you need to do, I got you.
I got you. That's my favorite saying. I got you. Let me tell you a story. We were at the Olive Garden, and there's an Olive Garden up at the Pittsburgh Mills here. We had this waitress. She was busy and doing things and doing 100 things, but no matter what you asked, she would reply with, "I got you." And I love this. And my whole family to this day, we talk about this waitress. Like Roman, what you need? Like, I need an iced tea. I got you. How about you? I need some more breadsticks. I got you. I can't get a refill on the salad. I got you. She would say, "I got you," no matter what we said. Like the same
Did
way.
you
Like,
get it?
Oh, she got everything right.
Oh, okay.
And that she would the same way. Like when you say thank you at Chick-fil-A, they have to say my pleasure. This girl would say, "I got you," for whatever you asked to everybody who asked. She wouldn't wait till we were all done. Individually, "I got you." That's my favorite thing. So if you ever hear me saying "I got you," it's some waitress in Olive Garden who's my favorite person in the world that I have no idea who she is.
Well, I think we need to go back and find her.
Let's find her. Well, let's go. This could be her. This is From Stage to Stage, From Story to Stage, turning personal conversations into live experiences. Karen Thorne launched her new podcast, Finding Foundations, with a live event centered around real, unscripted conversations about overcoming adversity. With tickets around $25, the event combines storytelling, audience Q&A, and post-show connection, turning a podcast into a shared emotional experience. And this was her first live event, not just a digital experience. There was these authentic, unscripted conversations, and it included an audience Q&A and social time afterwards. So when you're putting these types of events together, you start to think about, okay, what's the experience look like? One, we're looking at check-in. That's going to be an important part of it. People are going to get seated. We're going to put on a great show. We're going to give Q&A, so there's interactivity. But then, like a VIP experience, or even if it's for everybody, there's a hangout afterwards. You get to walk by, talk to the host, take pictures with the host, proof that you were there. That's a big part of this whole experience that we're trying to build. How do you connect with everybody? How do you connect with the audience, the hosts, and build this system that people leave raving about? I'm so glad I went to that.
It just goes back to making them feel valued because they're not only there for you, they're also there for themselves to share experiences. And if anybody can relate, that just helps. And the whole question and answer part, that's really cool because some people have a question and they just might need to know how to get through something or take the right steps on what they need to do just to overcome an adversity. And that's really cool. I like that.
I talk a lot about people who put on shows here, and there's like 3 stages. There's the pre-show where most of the people have this nervous energy. It's a lot of fun to like lift the mood and make them laugh, but they're pacing, they're going through scripts, they're going through their notes, and they're overly prepared or overly nervous, and there's too much time between what they're doing. So you get this nervous energy. Then during the show, all that gets released. They come alive. They're doing the performance. It's amazing. They're having a great experience. The audience is enjoying it. But the thing that has shocked me the most about building this type of event space, this type of experience, is getting people out of the theater afterwards. They have such a good time that they're taking pictures. They're coming up on stage getting photos, recording small videos, thank yous. They're shaking hands. They're telling stories. And it's always as long as the show was performed is how long it takes to clear out, which is something that I didn't expect, but I also love at the same time that type of connection on a small stage like this is happening with just 40 people. Yeah. Imagine in larger events, and if you're a bigger celebrity, and people get to come in and meet you and shake your hand and thank you for the things you've done, that's a big part of the experience, and you're building that and giving that as a gift to the attendees.
Especially if one of these 40 are fortunate to see somebody who really, really takes off and makes it big, they're going to remember where they met him, where they first saw him, the time that they had, And that's going to last longer than a lifetime because those stories will get passed on from generation. And it's cool that it's taking place here. And it's really nice.
I remember in 2026, I saw DJ Sky.
I was gonna go with the comedian Loaf. I was listening to the comedian, and he told this one joke, and then we hung out afterwards.
Let's go. Our final story of the day is South by South. I love this one because there was a big event that happened at South by Southwest that happened parallel. Was called Podcast Movement. And it happened alongside. So a lot of people didn't realize there were separate events. But in this case, this is a Substack article, and she's talking about how podcasts were the center stage of South by Southwest, which I love. If you needed proof that podcasting has gone mainstream, South by Southwest made it clear. Podcasts were everywhere. Live shows, brand activations, music performances, and major platforms all leaning into audio. The strategy here is not about where you post your content. It's about owning your voice and bringing it to life on stage. Because the future of podcasting is not just something people listen to, it's something they experience. And I mean, if there's any proof about how big podcasting has become as part of an entertainment structure, look at conferences, events. Part of their big entertainment is now live podcasts, where it used to be bands and comedians and magicians. Now podcasts are right in that mix. They're replacing panel sessions. They're doing a live podcast. They're replacing comedy. They're replacing the headliner with a live podcast. And it's becoming a number one form of entertainment at conferences.
Especially since it's the entertainment base. Watching something and being there and actually interacting with it is a whole different experience than just listening to it. It's so weird because whenever you're there and they're doing the podcast and they're interviewing somebody that you know and follow, and they're still right there, 40 people away, it's pretty amazing what they're able to do with the live podcasting right now.
Yeah, on the last show we were talking about like podcast conferences, and it's so weird. You listen to these podcasters for years at home during your morning commute, in the background when you're doing the dishes or whatever. And all of a sudden, you're at a conference, and you see them up on stage. Everybody has their badges on. And then you leave, and you're walking the hallways, and you see that podcaster that you've listened to for 20 years, or you see them over there. They're approachable. You can talk to them. So when you go to these events that are centered around the topics that you care about, and you see the industry leaders, they're almost always very approachable. You can thank them. You tell them how much you appreciate the content they're creating, how it's helped you in your career or during your own podcast journey, and they're right there. They're like, it's that surrealness of you're only 40 people away, but they're also approachable. They're not surrounded by 10 bodyguards like a Kardashian.
Yeah, the bodyguards. I'm so glad that they don't have those when we go to these things, because it's the interaction that lasts a whole lot longer, and that just sets it apart from seeing them, listening to them, but being able to take that picture. It just shows that they appreciate you and value you as a listener.
Yeah.
Now I guess as a watcher, because everything is live now.
Yeah, we went full circle today. We went from putting on events, the check-in process, the experience. These are all things that anybody watching at home can take for their own podcast, for their own live events, and even some tips that you might see DJ Sky put into place for his 4-stop tour starting April 11th right here in Tarentum. At Barley is the first stop. Praha is the first stop.
Praha's the last stop.
Praha's the headliner because they got those weed mushrooms.
The weed mushrooms, the patio. It goes Lock 5, Barley, Barrel and Bloom, then the Praha. Yeah, but all these places are only 10, 15 minutes away. Yeah. So that's the cool thing about it. I'm in everybody's backyard.
Yeah, love to see it. April 11th. Check out Skylor Hayden on Facebook. You'll see the tour poster. You're going to get a little, what do you get? You get little punches for each stop.
Yeah, there's the access pass. You get little punches for each stop. That'll put you into the grand prize raffle. So whenever we get the QR code, we'll figure out how to do that. And then The second place is I'm going to put together probably a chip of some sort from each location. And then I'm going to give away, hopefully, a whole bunch of swag. So some T-shirts, some gear. So if you are a local business and you do want to sponsor, please reach out. We'll take whatever you can give. I don't care if it's a shirt, a koozie. People just like stuff.
I'll give a stage rental as a prize. A night you can come in, use the theater for whatever you want. I'll give a 2-hour prize. That's like a $150 value. Does that count?
That counts.
All right, go see DJ Sky. You can win a 2-hour rental at the Poduty Podcast Theater at downtown Tarentum. This has been Poduty in the News for March 2026. I don't remember the date.
What time is it?